So one thing I want to, I guess, dive into a little bit is what is the best, or in your opinion, what is the best or most effective training protocol for front lever planche if you had
Yeah.
to structure it that way?
I think it obviously is very dependent on the individual, but like I think if you're practicing the actual movement, then you're gonna get better at it. I think that's always been my kind of like ethos, if that makes sense. Like whether it be using bands to regress the movement or like doing certain regressions, like if you're actually practicing that movement pattern, you're gonna get better at that movement pattern. So I think you should always include, if you're training for the front lever, some kind of isometric hold of the front lever. You know what I mean? Because that's just the standard. Like you need that, if that means you need the straight arm strength. So I feel like if you include in that and then you have other things going around, like a bit of bent arm exercise, like, you know, your tuck front lever pulls or like your weighted pull-ups or stuff like that, then you can't really go wrong. But the main thing is to really draw those progressions and getting a feel of the actual movement, I think is so key. That's why I'm a big believer in bands, using bands. Like I know some people are against it, but I think they're so great. Like there's such a great way to build confidence and to actually like master the skill, to actually feel like you can do it and envision you doing it and like get a taste of what it feels like. It's so important, I think. So yeah, that's
Yeah, I'd
kind of,
love your opinion on this specifically with regards to bands.
yeah.
So there's kind of two different schools of thought. One is the band around the waist and one is around the feet.
Yeah.
What do you believe is the best way?
I use both personally. So I've used in the past so for front lever pulls, I usually get, because the nature of the pull, right, it's more, it's the actual, the focus is the pull, right? So I want support on my back and on my legs, because then I can really just focus on the actual pull. Whereas if I'm doing like a front lever hold, for example, and I know that I'm already pretty good with the hold, then I just want limited support. So maybe just around the waist. So I'd use both just depending on the exercise, but mainly for front lever pulls, because it's a pulling focus motion and I really want to get the main focus is just the pull, then I want more support around like the back and the legs. But for obviously for the holds, I want as little support as possible. So yeah, just a bit of both, I think. Yeah.
I mean, yeah, there's one thing, I completely agree with that,
Yeah.
by the way. It really does also depend on the person. We love to watch a guy called Michal Lobenik,
Yeah.
absolute monster. And he also uses bands as well for learning for the purpose of learning the movement.
Yeah.
But one thing I think people don't talk about enough, and this is something that me and Sam, we talk about quite a lot, is having enough muscle mass to even warrant doing the move.
100%.
Is that something that you work on?
Totally agree with you. Like that is spot on. Like a lot of people, they actually aren't strong enough to do certain skill. So there's like, you need to know where you're at strength wise and whether your body actually can handle that skill. But a big part of it is being strong enough. Like if you look at all these Olympic gymnasts, there's a reason why they have massive biceps and shoulders and they can do iron cross and stuff, because they literally have the muscle mass to do these movements, you know. So there is like a fine line where you need to actually build enough mass and you know, muscle on you to do these skills. So I think that's why it's always important to include those compound lifts, like your weighted pull-ups, you know, your weighted chin-ups, weighted dips, all those kind of exercises which are going to make you stronger and like a bit more meatier. That's so important as well for achieving these skills. So I think you need to like have a balance of both, if that makes sense. So,
Yeah, no, completely agree. I mean, one thing that perhaps we take it too far, Sam loves lateral raises.
yeah.
He loves lateral raises.
Because-
I guess, follow on question to that. Obviously,
Yeah.
you talk about compound movements. I think that's a very well established principle that you have to use those to get bigger.
Definitely.
To what extent would you normally use isolations, like, for example, lateral raises, bicep curls, tricep extensions, to help you build enough muscle to do those skills?
Yeah, definitely. I think they're great accessory exercises. So like, for example, I'm chasing like weighted chin-ups, like I'm chasing the like a 1 rep max for me. So obviously I throw in a lot of like strict bicep curls to you know, help with my lockout, and it's really important to know how to isolate certain muscle groups if you're lagging on certain areas. So I think that's why it all comes down to like you kind of understanding your body and knowing what is like lacking. But those isolation exercises are actually really important. They're very key. I think a good example is like Zanetti presses.
Yeah,
for
we love
example.
that one.
Exactly. So that just helps with the straight arm strength. Again, if you can really load it with more weight, and that if you're someone that tends to like bend their arms or like not really lock out the arms in the planche, then that's a great exercise for you. So if you kind of again understand what's needed for certain skills and really isolate certain movements, then you're going to see a lot more joy as well, and your training will be a lot more efficient for sure.